Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Many Faces of Cancer podcast. I am your host, Melissa Grosboll, and joining me today is the fabulous Justie Ellis. Justie and I have been friends for over 20 years. We met at a networking group many, many years ago, and we have just kind of maintained our friendship past all of these years. She has been a serial entrepreneur, has had multiple businesses, and today she is a associate with doTERRA Essential Oils. And Justie was actually, we kind of had a similar, not totally similar, but about the same time cancer journey. She was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer a little over a year ago, probably right around the same time that I was. And we kind of, in some ways, went through this journey together. So, welcome to the show, Justie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm so excited to chat with you about this.
Yes.
So Justie has a fabulous journey. Well, it's not a fabulous journey. She went through cancer, but her experience and the things that we're going to talk about today, I'm so excited to get into because even I don't know all of the things that you did. So take us back to probably early 2023. Kind of, where were you? What were you doing? How were you diagnosed initially?
So basically, I had a routine mammogram at the end of 2022. Of course, then Christmas was there, and they called me and said we need to do another mammogram because we think we see something. And could I come in before the end of the year? And I said no because I was out of town. So then I had an appointment for January 7th. And the only reason this is important is because I switched insurances over the new year. So that comes into play later on. But anyway, so I went in and they did an ultrasound and a mammogram, found a tiny spot. They asked if they could do a biopsy right then and there. And they were going to go check with my insurance. Could we do all of this? Yes, yes, yes. And then they came right back. They did the biopsy. And then a few days later, I get a call, and it was really tiny. They really, it was really tiny little spot that they saw. Anyway, they called me back, and it was a young gal, and the conversation kind of went like, "So I just wanted to give you the results from your biopsy, and so, well, it's kind of like cancer. Um, it's an abnormality, and well, it is cancer. Well, we just need to do a mammogram, or
Oh my
a
gosh.
MRI." And so I didn't seem to be too worried about it because she's looking at something apparently, and it doesn't look too terrible, right?
So it went
So
from it's kind of cancer to, well, yeah, it is cancer. Well, to we don't really know. Why don't we have more tests? All in one conversation.
all in one conversation.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So they set up an MRI, I'm sorry, for the 27th of January. 2 days before, they called me and told me my insurance wasn't going to cover it at their facility, and I needed to find another facility that could do the mammogram. So my doctor had gotten the biopsy report, and I called them, and they said, "Well, we can't find a place we can't do that for you. If you go on your insurance website, you can find a place that will do a mammogram that is covered by your insurance, blah blah blah, and then let us know what it is, and then um, and then we'll send a referral." And I was irritated, but whatever. So I went out there, and now, just so you know, I had to go to Mexico in the middle of this because we had already had a planned vacation. So that was
Mhm.
about the first, right? So, so
You're
anyway,
not going to let it stop your life
well,
yet, right?
exactly. It's just an
Yeah.
MRI. So anyway,
Right.
so then I got back, and I found a place over here in Littleton, and then uh, I think it was the first part of March that I was getting in. And I went over there and I couldn't even find the location, but there was a health images there, and and they said, well, that I don't. The gal says they don't do breast imaging there, and I was like, well, this is just weird. And so I went up there. The offices were not open that I where I went.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just bizarre. So anyway, so I went back down and she said, well, we don't do them here either, but we can find a place. So they got me to another place, and it was March 27th. So now 2 months later,
Okay.
okay, then I get the results back, and I called my doctor again and I said, can I get an appointment? Because you have an MRI and a biopsy, I need an appointment. So they couldn't get me in until May 5th. And I said, well, have you seen, you're going to get an MRI from me. And if you see this, then, or, and if they need to see me sooner, then let me know. And they didn't call me and change me or move me up or anything like that. So I went in
So now
May.
you're like over like 3.5 months out from the initial mammogram.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And so May 5th, I went in and she goes, well, and I've known her forever. So she goes, well, you have a really sucky summer. We're going to send you over to, Rocky Mountain Cancer Center, and Dr. Joyce Moore was my surgeon. And we'll get you over there really quickly, or we'll get you over there, and they'll call you and get an appointment. So that was a Wednesday. And I was seen at Friday morning by the surgeon right away, because
So
all
they,
the red flags,
okay. Like
all the red
it's
flags.
about time, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're like, what is going on? And why are you now just talking to us? And so then,
So did they notice, like, had it grown between the mammogram and the MRI?
it had a little bit, but the original biopsy, it was, I think, 1.2, and by the time I had the MRI, it was 1.4 centimeters.
Okay.
And that's when I talked to the oncologist, she said a lot of that has to do with the fact that they invaded that
Okay.
tumor, and
It could
so
have
it was
burst a
just a
little.
swelling, yeah, kind of a swelling kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so anyway, and then I wasn't even supposed to see an oncologist until like the 24th or something like that, was as soon as they could get in. And after I saw the surgeon, they were Johnny on the spot, and I saw her the following Wednesday. And then the road, that's when there was like, okay, we're on fast start here, and we're just going to, rocket through this. So the biggest
So you
thing,
were diagnosed with triple negative
triple negative,
breast cancer. And for
breast
those
cancer.
out there, that means no known thing that feeds the cancer
That
and
is
is
correct. It is.
probably one of the most aggressive forms of breast cancer that there are.
It is, and it's harder to treat, because if it's anything but triple negative, it means that they can use hormone blockers to keep the hormones from
Attaching and
attaching
growing it.
to and
Right.
growing. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas I didn't have that problem, and so consequently, it is harder to treat, and it is one of the most aggressive, which is why they were all like, what have you been doing, and why haven't you seen us? And I'm like, well, no one seemed to be concerned about it. Everybody just called it an abnormality. I said, I don't know. And if they weren't going to be like, oh my gosh, you gotta go see somebody right now, then I would have gone and saw somebody right now. But nobody said anything like that to me.
Because it wasn't
So,
like they showed you your test results or anything that you could
well,
see
I
it for
got them.
yourself.
They were in my portal, but it said triple negative. It really is. It really is to the when it says triple negative, your brain goes, "Oh, you don't have
Right.
cancer,"
Oh, okay.
because it's all
Gotcha.
negative.
In this case, negative is not a good thing.
In this case, negative is not a good thing.
Right.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Um, All right. So they kind of got you started right away because you were already several months out
Several months
from,
out.
your initial mammogram.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
So, and it was, just so you know, it was stage one, again, it was only 1.4 centimeters, and it was grade 2, but
Okay.
the grading is based on the shape and the size,
Right.
or so it was a grade 2.
Now, did
Yeah.
they
So
have any lymph node involvement or did they not know
at
yet?
the time, they did not know.
Okay.
They didn't know. Yeah.
All right.
So the following week, I had my port put in, and then I had and then I started chemo on June 7th.
Okay. And you went through 2 rounds of chemo, right?
I had 16 weeks of 2 kinds of chemo,
Okay.
and then it was 4 treatments in 8 weeks of 2 other kinds of chemo.
Gotcha.
And I do not have those chemos right here handy with me, but if you
That's
have
okay.
the
We don't need
file,
to know what they
okay,
are.
okay, all right. I was gonna say, if you need to know that, I'm gonna have to get the file out.
No. Um, okay. And then, so after you were done with the chemo, then they were going to schedule surgery,
Correct.
correct?
Hmm.
Right. And then tell us what happened when they went in to remove the tumor.
Oh, well, so at the end of the 16 weeks, I had an MRI done so that they could identify whether or not it was working or not, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the tumor had shrunk down from to zero point zero 0.03 by 0.04
Wow.
centimeters. So
Yay.
yeah, so they were
It was
pretty.
working.
It was working, and then I finished the last 4 treatments, and then when they went, they couldn't find there was no tumor. There was nothing there. The only thing that was there was the marker, and they had a hard time even finding the marker. But in the end, they just removed the marker and tissue around the marker,
Okay.
and there was nothing there.
So the chemo worked.
The chemo worked. I had a
Yay.
complete chemo response, is what they called
That
it.
is fantastic.
I
And
did
then
have
you did
I
go
did
for
have
radiation
I
also, right?
did. I did, only
Okay.
because whenever you have just a lumpectomy, they do the radiation as a precaution.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then you finished right before Christmas, right?
on the 23rd of December.
And
Yep.
cancer free.
And cancer free. Yes, yes.
Yay.
I was
Oh,
diagnosed, and I don't have to take any kind of um, chemo pill or anything like that. I don't take anything
okay.
long term.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Yay. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
All right. Now I really want to dive in because you had a very different chemo experience
Hmm.
than most people do.
Right.
And so I want to kind of talk a little bit about like what were you doing during chemo? What kind of protocols did you have? And I know that you kind of come from a holistic background and you really wanted to do this as naturally as chemo can be. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you were doing during chemo to just help yourself feel better, but also, what was going on
Right. Right.
while you were doing all of this stuff.
Right. So I immediately after I got my diagnosis, I did start using frankincense
Okay.
immediately. And one of the reasons I used frankincense was because frankincense is it's a cellular, so your cells are supposed to, fold up and die and get out of the body. And those that don't do that properly kind of end up ganging up with each other. And then that's when things don't work right inside, and I don't know if they've actually said those are all just those become cancer cells or what, but they're abnormal cells that don't, something is wrong with them. So
Okay.
frankincense, that's kind of what it is known for doing, is to help
Hoping
cells
to
get
get
out of
that
the body.
stuff out.
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, so I used that right away, and then the other part of it was, um, so I don't really take any medicines. I've really never taken any medicines whatsoever. And so, I mean, I take thyroid medicine, but that's the only medicine I've ever taken, really. And so I knew that I probably would want to get this medicine out of my body as quickly as I could after it was done doing its thing. Because medicine kind of hangs around in the body.
Mhm.
Um, it doesn't just exit,
Right.
right away. And
No.
so I was in touch with a couple different people. One, her daughter had from DoTerra. One, her daughter had a cancer at age 11, and so she had sent me a whole protocol of what they did, and then and then and so then I started following that, and that was basically the two things that I did from that particular thing was I used Immortelle instead of frankincense. Immortelle is an oil blend that includes frankincense, but it has other things in there too. Pink pepper, and then I alternated lavender and tangerine, and I just applied that on the breast 2-3 times a day. And then the other one that I did I did very consistently was Aroma Touch, which is it's a technique to help activate the lymphatic system. And in all the research that I kind of did was everyone kept going back to this lymphatic system. And usually you activate your lymphatic system with exercise. But if you ever, chemo doesn't necessarily, I mean, you don't just jump up and go, hey, tomorrow I'm going to go and work out.
Right.
I mean, and whether you're sick or not doesn't matter. Your brain just goes, okay, well, I just had chemo treatment, and you don't go and work out. You just don't. And so that was one of the things that I needed to do. I knew that. And then the other two treatments were, um, uh, I needed to do a liver detox, but I couldn't take him. It couldn't be an internal one. So I got castor oil, and this is just weird, but you go to Whole Foods or Sprouts or whatever, and you go to, and you find the castor oil, and right next to it are castor oil pads. Who knew? Then you get the castor oil pad and castor oil, and then you put the castor oil on the pad, and then you put it right here on your liver, and then I wrapped myself in saran wrap, but you can go to Amazon and get castor oil pads or belts to hold that in place. I mean, I'm like, who? No, I've never heard of such a thing. Anyway, and then you heat it for an hour. And let
Okay.
me just tell you, I don't want to, get too gross, but you have a bowel movement within an hour after that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know that they tend to be, I don't want to say hesitant necessarily, but they really want these chemo drugs to work. So
Right.
were you like
So
communicating with your doctors and stuff to make sure that they had enough time before you
I
like
didn't.
got them out of you or?
Correct. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I asked how long it would be in my system, that kind of thing. And it was 24 hours on the first group of drugs that I had.
So
They
they
were,
needed to be in there for 24 hours to do their job.
they were going to, yeah.
Okay. And then after that, it was fine to
Yeah.
try and flush them out.
They didn't really, they didn't really, I was not the most honest person about everything that I was doing. Um, but they said that they would be in the body 24 hours, and also it was kind of you will be nauseous in 24 hours, and in my mind too, that was like, okay, well, so now it's done doing what it needed to do, and now it's going to sit in my gut, you know yeah. So
Right.
anyway, and the other
Okay.
thing I did was I got an ionic foot bath,
Okay.
and so I alternated those two. So in the beginning, I started, and I didn't do the liver thing until um, actually it was probably more closer to 48 hours. I did it like on Friday morning,
Okay.
and my chemo wasn't done until about 2 o'clock on Wednesday. I had my
Okay.
chemo on Wednesday, and then I alternated the liver detox and then and then the ionic foot bath, and then the liver detox, and then the ionic foot bath.
Okay.
And then the other two things that I did was I had people set up to do aroma touch. I didn't plan it this way, but I ended up having someone every single day that would come in and
Aw.
do that for me. And so I did that that was pretty consistent. There was a few that I didn't get in there, but for the most part, I had it every day. And then I had someone volunteer to juice for me. So they provided me with 14 bottles of juice every Tuesday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got aroma touch, so moving the lymphatics, especially when you can't exercise. That's fantastic for that. So detoxing with the castor oil and the ionic foot baths.
Right.
Definitely juicing.
Yeah.
And then the frankincense to help clear out all of the dead cells and stuff that needed to go.
Yep.
So really it was a lot about just moving stuff through your body and getting it out, getting the bad stuff out.
Exactly. And with that, my whole goal was to support myself while they were going to try to kill, every cell in my body. They were killing something, and I was going to support the rest of my body so that I guess that would work. Does that make sense?
Oh no, absolutely.
And I needed to do everything I could to support the rest of myself while it was doing its job. I did take a lot of supplements. I took a lot of supplements as well.
Okay. And so now what did you experience or not experience compared to maybe somebody who didn't do all of this stuff throughout the treatments?
Well, so one of the big ones that they two things they thought was going to happen was, first of all, I would be sick. They told me I had lots of medicines that I could take for nausea and vomiting and whatever. They told me to eat as much as I possibly could because I was going to lose a lot of weight. That didn't happen. I didn't lose 1 pound. I gained weight every week. It was terrible. And yeah, so that was one thing. The other thing was mouth sores. People get mouth sores. So they had me using a soft toothbrush, and I was rinsing my mouth with salt water. And then a dental hygienist, she's actually my ex-husband's wife, and she recommended that I use a tongue scraper. And I had one, but I hadn't really used it. So I did that, and then I switched. I didn't switch. I kind of did them in conjunction at the beginning, but doTERRA has a mouthwash that has On Guard, and On Guard in it is clove and cinnamon and just all sorts of great things to help your mouth as well. So and clove is a huge one. So I used their mouthwash then.
So no mouth sores.
And I had no mouth sores.
Wow.
I never had any mouth sores. I never had any nausea. For the first 16 weeks. The second 4 sessions were a little bit different, but I learned what was causing the nausea, kind of. So I was able to address that, but I had none. I had nothing. The other thing that they do, you lose your hair, and I did lose my hair. I lost all my hair. But
yeah, and the people who are on audio won't be able to see this, but I mean, the people on video, like, your hair has grown so amazingly.
I know. Now it's like falling down. So now I'm gonna have to like fix it now. But anyway, so I did get neuropathy, and I did do ice packs on your feet and your hands during the chemo that would cause that neuropathy. I feel like the one thing I learned was that you should have just done ice. I probably should have done ice treatments every single day and with every single chemo drug they gave me. And I don't have terrible neuropathy. I mean, it's minimal, but I do have some neuropathy in my fingers and toes. The other thing is that I did try to save my hair too with the ice pack on my head, but that didn't
It
help.
didn't work.
Didn't work. So yeah, so that was I didn't have any of that. Midway through, um, well, the other thing is that right away they watch your white blood cell count every single time.
Hmm.
I did have it drop somewhat after the first treatment, um, and then after the second treatment, they did give me a shot the following day for my white blood cell, my white blood cells, and then it never happened again.
Wow.
So I don't know if it was something that I was doing or what, but it never happened again. And then every time I went in, they were like, "So tell us again what you're doing," because I mean, literally, I was the poster child for chemo because I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything they told me I was going to have. I and they were just like, out of all the patients that are doing the exact same treatment that you're doing, by far, like it's unbelievable. You have no symptoms, and that we've got people that are sick, 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 sick.
Wow. So there is something to be said about natural remedies when they're used in conjunction with things.
And I think that the biggest thing is to, if there's something that you know can support your body during all of this, do it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I used oils because I was familiar with oils. Frankincense has helped me over the years many, many times. So frankincense was my go-to. But you know what? I think if you were getting massages, and that was something that really, really is something you did a lot, and it would support your body, and you felt better after massages, then get a massage. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think there's a lot of things
Absolutely.
that we can do to support ourselves. And I think a lot of people just throw their hands up and go, okay, whatever you need to do, do. And I wasn't that way. I wasn't like, you're just going to do everything. I just didn't want that. I knew I had to support myself while they were doing what they were doing.
Well, and I do want to point out that you didn't use these things in place of
I did not.
the protocol treatment. You use them as a support
Yes,
structure for your body
correct.
that wasn't going to, be contraindicated for your normal treatments. And we're not saying like, oh, we'll take frankincense and you won't need to do this. This is just in addition to the
Correct.
chemo, you were doing what you needed to do to support your body and support your symptoms
Mm-hmm.
so you could
Correct.
heal and stay strong throughout this whole
Yeah,
process.
and I think you do so much better if you are strong. If you are feeling good, I mean, yeah, I think it could have really been a lot more. Well, I know it would have been a lot more difficult if I was sick for 3 or 4 days following treatment.
Hmm.
I mean, and that's what they expected. They said, by Thursday night you'll be sick. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you'll feel a little bit better on Sunday, and then again on Wednesday again. I mean, it's like, how do you continue? I don't know. Anyway, so I I think that people, and I think I responded better to the drug. The
Because you
drug,
were supporting your body.
yes, and the body goes, okay, we got you. Let it do its thing because we got you.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah,
love hearing that. I mean,
yeah,
I'm definitely more holistic minded myself.
right.
So anytime I hear, not people out doing cancer treatments or anything, but being able to support themselves so they're not completely wiped out or sick and they can, stay as healthy and strong as possible
Yep,
so the drugs can do their job and you
yep.
can you can heal faster.
Yep. I also did. This was kind of fun. I did do chemo, or chiropractic treatments, but he has a hyperbaric chamber, and
Okay.
so I did that as well.
So tell me a little bit about what a hyperbaric chamber does.
So, I'm not sure what it does actually. Uh, it's what they do if you go scuba diving and you get too much oxygen in your body.
Nitrogen. Yeah, I think it kind
Nitrogen.
of floods your body with extra oxygen,
Yep.
which
Yep. And
helps
then it
just to.
sucks in. So it's a chamber. So it like it's a movable movable chamber. So you can see it sucking in, and they're giving me oxygen
Okay.
in high flow.
Okay. And I think that cancer cells don't really like
And they
oxygen, and
don't they don't
that's
like oxygen.
and that's one of the
They
things
don't
that
like
helps.
oxygen. And uh yeah, my chiropractor, he's got all sorts of, stuff like that. But there's actually places in Mexico that's a huge part of their treatment is
It is. Yeah.
change.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
So
Um,
I didn't he didn't get it until like it was time when he finally got it. But yeah, I did that. I did that not every week, but maybe every couple of weeks.
okay. Hey, every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
All right. So, I guess like what did I want to say kind of what was your biggest takeaway? What was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself, about cancer, about, you know, your way of life, whatever going through this whole process?
well, first of all, get your mammogram. That would be number one because it was so small and so back in behind. I would have probably not found it for quite a while. Um, so that's number one. And then I would say that uh, it just reinforced the need it reinforced the fact that I know that I don't get everything that I need from my food and my life and lifestyle and whatever. And so I know that I need additional support. Um, and I've always known that, but it just reinforced that. And especially with nutrition and, and nutrients and things like that, I feel like, and myself and people that I know, we just have too much junk in our food system,
Mhm.
and so that reinforced that. So I make sure that that's something that I do consistently is to get my supplements and my nutrition there. Also, again, it just reinforced the fact that if you take care of yourself, then, and it doesn't matter what kind of chronic disease you have, if you have a chronic disease of any kind, if you find a way to support yourself outside of that disease, I think your body is a miracle. I think it really knows how to help if you just give it the ammunition to do so.
Ah, I love that. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then finally, I ask all of my guests this, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is like has a cancer diagnosis, is just starting on this journey? What is like the one piece of advice that you would give to somebody?
Well, I would look for a huge support system. 16 weeks of people coming in every single day. I don't know how many days that is, but
Way too
to
much math.
have a different, I mean, I had 3 people that were consistent, but that's a lot of people that have to come. And then I had people on chemo days that had to go and take me to chemo and, and bring me home and that whole thing. So I think that support system is huge. My church, which I mean, they enveloped me. I mean, it was an amazing journey. You don't know how many friends you have until someone spreads that word. I didn't spread the word. I mean, they knew when I lost my hair. So then they were, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh," and so the church was that way. But those people that spread the word, I mean, I had friends that came out of, I've, like even you, I haven't, I've reconnected with you in the last few years, but I these are people that I didn't always have like
Mhm.
in a daily part of my life, and they just stepped up to the plate, you
I love
know.
that.
Yeah.
I
So,
will say that has been a consistent thread through all of these interviews is having support and having people around you to, to help lift you up and to help take care of you and to pray for you
yep.
and all the things. It's
Yeah, yeah.
so important. You
Yeah,
can't walk
and
this journey alone.
I do know there's a lot of people that do. I mean, they might have a spouse or their kids or whatever, and let me just tell you, I have two boys, and not that they didn't, want to support me and do whatever, but as men, they're not the best support system
Right.
as far as, what I'm saying.
Yep.
And whereas the women, they're like, we gotcha. It was phenomenal, and I would highly suggest. I mean, even if I found out that someone that I knew that had any kind of cancer or whatever, I would spread the word. I would just tell
Mhm.
everybody I knew and say, okay, what can we do? Do you need food? That was one thing. Food. Everybody's like, hey, can we bring you food? But immediately you start not eating. So
Okay.
yeah, food is not
Yeah.
something that I really needed, but I got food, I got coupons, so afterwards it was great. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had somebody say, that people were like, "Can I come and walk your dog for you?" Or "Can I come
Yes.
and do your laundry?" Or,
Yes.
just something that you
Yes.
might not even think of.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
don't just say, "Well, if there's anything I can do, or do you need
No.
anything?" Because
Right.
with chemo brain and
You
everything else, you can't think of
you
anything.
can't think of anything.
It's concrete things like,
Yes.
"Hey, can I come and cook you a meal? Can I come and
Exactly.
clean your bathrooms?"
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
I had the same thing. The gal that came on, she folded laundry every single Tuesday. She was here on Tuesdays and she did an aroma touch and then folded my laundry. And I mean, it was just I mean, it was those little things that you're already overwhelmed enough and you don't realize you are,
Mhm.
and those little things are just key.
Ah, all
Yeah.
right. Well, that is a perfect conclusion for this. So, thank you so much,
You're
Jesse, for
welcome.
being here today.
You're welcome.
I know I got a lot out of this conversation, and I know that everybody else will too. And I'm just so happy for you that you are cancer free and back to living the high
Yep.
life. So,
Yep. 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 Yeah, and
all
thanks
right.
for spreading the word. I'm glad that you're doing this podcast thing. I think everybody just needs to hear, because we all have different journeys during the whole thing, and
Mhm.
I just think you have to, someone will spark that, oh, I was like that, or that's me, that's that's how I was, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
and we don't have to go through it alone.
And you don't have to
That's
go
the
through
whole
it
point.
alone. Hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
thank you so much. And
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks,
Take care.
Melissa. Okay. Bye.